Hi, Luchana.
Hi, is this the right pronunciation? Thor.
Yeah, Thor in English, right?
Thor.
And
Great.
in Germany or in Scandinavia, you say Thor.
Mm.
They don't have a th, but Thor is fine.
Okay. Well, thank you first for accepting the invitation.
Yeah.
It was just a spontaneous impulse while I was reading your intro in Liberation Unleashed forum in the Gate, and afterwards we seen each other on Zoom on a meeting. So there was this impulse here to write you and to invite you just to have a chat.
Right.
Mm.
About what?
About this. What is
exactly? Yeah.
What is about nothing, about everything, about what comes up.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
can you? So the first question that comes is like, what the character Thorm was looking for. I read in your intro that there were apparently 20 or 25 or so years of seeking.
Yeah.
Can you share something about this, if you don't mind, of course?
Yeah.
If that's okay.
When I look back now, I don't know honestly anymore what was seeking and what was it seeking, because the seeker seeks without knowing what is seeking, I would say, right? Of course, there are concepts like peace or freedom or end of suffering or maybe finding enlightenment and stuff like that. But now even the so-called past changes because you weren't there at all, right? But yeah, it was 25 years of a very intense, obsessive life, you could say, with everything. And my mom was a natural healer, so I was born into the spiritual bubble, you could say, and stuff like that. So her then life partner as a child was an Osho sannyasin, so I came in touch in a very young age with communes and those kind of philosophies and stuff, and muscle testing, kinesiology and stuff like that was part of my childhood. And out of that, after a while, you go on to your own journey, so to speak, right? So with 17, I started to smoke weed a lot. And with 18, I went into the electronic scene in Germany, techno scene, mid-90s. And I started to use drugs, LSD and stuff, and ecstasy and so on. And there I had my first glimpse of awakening, you could say. Because on one LSD trip, the realization happened that there is nothing. I don't exist. There is no I, there is no body, there is no world, there is not even God, there is nothing at all, right? And you jump around like, oh, the great mystery, I have it now, right? But of course, it always closes after that. But that was, so to say, the Kickstarter, you could say. And then I started to read a lot of books, the big isms, right? So Buddhism, Taoism, Sufism, Shamanism, Hinduism. With 21, I started to meditate, and that was the real start of the journey, so to speak. And this went on for 25 years till this year. And
what happened this year?
Yeah, we come to that, right? Okay. Because I also went into Buddhist monasteries. I lived for mostly a decade in Buddhist monasteries and ashrams and spiritual communities, and hundreds of books and audiobooks and satsangs and masters and teachers and qigong and yoga and meditation and energetic work, healing your inner child and this and that. And I always came back to the same point. There was something missing. There was still unhappiness. There was still suicidal thoughts out of nowhere, for example, as well. And it was never enough, right? There needs to be a way out. There needs to be something, this, the final answer, the final solution to end this. Yeah, but how, right? And in 2018, I dropped it all because I was frustrated. I was very angry, also auto-aggressive, not with some borderline stuff, just everything was anger, right? The world, the people, myself, shouting, complaining, blame and shame, all this typical thing, right? When there is an identified person. And then I dropped it all and I said, it doesn't work. It's all crap, right? And those people are all crazy and they're dissociated and schizo or something. So also a lot of labeling. And then, yeah, it was helplessness, so to speak, completely hopelessness, right? The greatest gift you can ever get. And then I did some other stuff, some inner work and some QHHT and so on, but still suffering. In August this year, I was sitting here, I live in Hungary, and I was sitting here on my couch, and then there was a clear, loud voice in my head. And it was saying, why don't you get up, go to the bathroom, take out your razor blade and make one clear cut and you are free. And I was sitting there like, who the F is talking here? What? Because I knew it wasn't me, right? But it was absolutely clear in the head or wherever, like, okay, wow. So after that, another voice came up and said, why don't you take a look again at non-dualism? Because 10 years ago, I came to non-dualism and Papaji was the Kickstarter for me. And there were some very deep openings and glimpses of awakening or days of eyelessness, so to speak. And but it always came back, right? Very strong, the ego, the pain and everything. Every time you think, now I have it, now I understand, now I'm enlightened, well, nice try, right? Because you get a slap from life in the face, absolutely, yeah. So I did. And I got back to the people I resonate with, Tony Parsons, Andreas Müller, Karl Renz, and then Scott Kiloby came to me. And then Ilona came to me. And I remember clearly I was sitting on Amazon, non-dualism, typing in, and then Liberation Unleashed showed up and Gateless Gatecrashers, and I read about it. And then I saw the comment from Scott that he's recommending the word from Ilona. And I knew immediately I need to read those books. So I did. I bought the books and I started to read Gateless Gatecrashers. And I remember very clearly that there was a thought like no one ever was awakened or liberated by written words, especially not in a conversation between a seeker and a guide via email. So I started to read the first session and I was sitting there like, oh, that's me. And that's me, and that's me, and that's my struggle, and what? Yeah. So some resonance was already happening. I read around about 2-3 stories per day, and the story with Michael, something happened. Yeah. Everything became absolute crystal clear, and the illusion of I, self, ego, and persona revealed itself as an illusion, and it popped completely. And I cannot say if it was right now in that very moment, but I placed the handy beside me and I was just sitting there and there was just silence. And the silence became more wider and wider, a big void of emptiness, so to speak, which is completely abundant. And everything fall away. No more pain, no more seeking, no more drama, no more suffering, no more interested in knowing anything at all, because no one's there who would be interested anymore, right? No more longing for whatever. I'm a happy, healthy single for 4 years now. I was in a retreat with myself, so to speak, myself. And no more I'm alone or I'm isolated, no more I need a life partner. It's gone. It's just silent, peaceful, love, beautiful, playful, authentic, very spontaneous, and very unspectacular sometimes. But this unspectacular thing is the greatest concert you will ever hear. And it's totally sensational without being sensational, right? It's life. It's this.
It's too simple in a way.
Yeah. It is so simple that you cannot see it, because the more you try to see it, the less you see. The closer you are, the less you see. It is seeing, it's a direct experience. And I knew it for 20 years as a concept. And the mind can trick you always, like, oh, I'm consciousness, I'm realization, I'm enlightenment, I know it, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the judge, I'm the victim, I'm whatever. But thoughts are just thoughts. But thoughts are the great trickster who try to say, hey, let's say thoughts are a shadow. And the thought comes to you and says, hey, I am light. But what happens to a shadow when it becomes light? It disappears. It's the end of the shadow, right? So thoughts can only be thoughts. Yeah? And that's the example I also wrote in the community. Let's say you are the greatest meditator on the planet with super cities that are the yogic special powers, you could say. And you have a banana before you. And this is the eternal banana, as I call it, so it's not rotting away. And then you sit there with your intention and you say, I want to become this banana to a pumpkin. It will never ever happen because the banana can only be a banana because it is its form. So a thought can only be a thought because it's the form of thought. And when you once get that, you can dismantle everything. Even if the thought machine, as I call it, tries to trick you back into identification. Yeah? At the beginning, I woke up in the morning and then there was the voice saying like, one morning you will wake up and it will all be gone. You will be identified and you will be this or that. But then you look into it, okay, what's the nature? What's the substance of it? Oh, it's just a thought. Well, nice try. Good luck, right? And that's it. Once seen, you can never go back. Yeah.
And what is happening now with thoughts? Is there, so they obviously don't stop, but how they are perceived now? This thought process.
Here.
Because I very often I hear or I've read that there are some expectations of some folks that it should be a total silence and shouldn't be anything.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on this?
Everything appears still. Thoughts, emotion, forms come and go. Nothing is permanent nor impermanent. That's a concept. It's just appearance and disappearance of everything, which is life at all. So yeah, there are thoughts rising. There is anger rising sometimes, or sadness, or happiness, or whatsoever. But there is no one there anymore experiencing it personally. I am happy, I am angry, I am suffering, I am sad, whatsoever. This is completely disappearing. Yeah, so when anger arises, let's say, the energy of anger, and all kinds of thoughts with that anger or emotions can arise. And then it's very interesting to see that there is this energy in the body system. And then it works, right? And sometimes nothing happens. So anger appears, it's tumbling around, and then it disappears. Sometimes it comes and then it's communicated. So words also come, but then it's very, very straight, authentic, and clear. And then the communication of the words happen and then it disappears. So there is no clinging to it. There is no judgment. There is no sanctioning, for example. I don't talk to you for weeks now because you're bad. You make me angry. Yeah. All this child kindergarten thingy, right? No. It's very natural, yeah. But there is just appearing and disappearing. That's it. And that is everything. That is life. I mean, that's the same what we are seeing right now in this whole scenario in the so-called world, right? Things appear, things disappear. No one is doing it. No one is experiencing it. That's the
exactly how this conversation is happening right now. It's utter mystery in a way and utter simplicity.
Life is unfolding itself and words appear and seeing is appearing and sitting on a chair and internet and cameras are appearing, but that's it, right? There is nothing, but this no thing is still a thing when we talk about it, so.
A few things are coming, but I'm just wondering what is going to be expressed. Okay, let's try with this one. What has changed with the character, Thor?
There is no character anymore. It's the end of the story of everything. You are buried, could say. Yeah. So there is no then there never was a character. That's the joke, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely crazy, yeah, and totally paradoxical. But it is really like that. When you look back after the shift, you sit there like, okay, I enjoy missing myself who has never existed. Yeah, that's the thing. So you sit there like, okay, it's all a mirage. And it only, as long as there is an identification with the I, self, ego, persona, or whatsoever, then it is very real.
And
right?
what is there to identify even? It's just an idea.
Even that's an idea. Even the thing which appears to be real is a mirage, right? It's just forms, come and go. That's it. But there is no real matter. It's all empty. Like they say in Zen, form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. This thing triggered me 20 years. And when you try to understand it rationally, you're in a trap. That's the carrot before the donkey, the dog chasing its tail. You cannot, the I or the thought cannot experience itself. That's not possible. The seeker cannot find itself because you already are what you are seeking for. You are already love or freedom or peace or whatsoever. You cannot become what you are. It is your nature. It's a silent river of total abundance, which is completely empty.
Yeah, and still hearing this or reading this, like you mentioned, it's not leading to anywhere, nor that there is anywhere somewhere. But yeah, it totally stays here in the realm of thinking.
Who wants to find something? Who wants to be led somewhere? Yeah. As long as there is someone or something who says, yeah, but there needs to be a reason. There needs to be an answer or whatsoever. There is no answer. There never was an answer. There never will be an answer. This is the answer. There is no reason. There never will be a reason. There was no reason. This is the reason. So everything is a concept, which is only a trap to try to hold you in that state of there is something. And this state I call the fear of the fear becoming completely fearless. Because that's the end game, to become completely fearless, because the I, the self, the ego, and the person need an identification, and it's mostly based on fear of everything, right? Fear of natural catastrophes, fear of so-called viruses, fear of migrants, fear of sickness, fear of dying, fear of this, fear of that. It's always fear. It's always paranoid, so to speak, right? That's the thing what we are seeing in the world right now. It's completely paranoia. It's always paranoia. The world is completely crazy. It always was, it always will be. Life is craziness as well, because it is everything and nothing at all. And that's the thing, but you cannot define it. You cannot even experience it. That's the thing, because then there would be a definitioner and an experiencer.
Exactly.
It's silent.
Because you mentioned in the beginning on the so-called path, what leads you eventually in the end to Ilona's book, for example, Gateless Gate Crushers. And maybe if someone is watching this video and there will be this idea and thought like, oh, maybe I should reach Liberation Unleashed, or I should read the book and so forth. But can you comment on those, let's say, on causality? It seems that this book or the forum or whatever leads you to this, but is it like this? Can you start on this?
No. The trap is that there is something thinking there is a solution or a way out through something external. A thing which will liberate me, which will free me, which make me whole, complete, enlightened, blah, 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 and so on. No. If it happens, it happens. If not, then not. You cannot force the moment of the shift. That's impossible. It can be this lifetime, it can be in 100 lifetimes. Who knows? Who cares?
Yeah. Exactly, who cares?
But the thing is, you cannot not wake up. That's the That's the thing, because you are already awakened. You are already everything you're looking for, you're seeking for. The illusion is that there is a thought of separation that tells you you are incomplete, you are not whole, you are not fully realized or whatsoever, and there is something in the future out there which you can get or control. So you need just to do this and that, and then it will happen. That's the enlightenment business where we see in the world, where people, so-called masters and teachers, sell you a lot of stuff for a lot of money and keep you trapped, because you cannot do anything at all about it. You are already it. It is only a belief system that you are not. And as long as the identification is there, this so-called belief system is very, very real. Yeah. But after the shift, you see it never existed. It was just an identification with thought or whatever. Yeah. It's a complete bubble. Yeah. And then someone comes or something, and then poof, gone. It evaporates, and that's it. Yeah. And that's the thing why most people seek and long for it their whole life. Maybe it can trap you for lifetimes. Yeah. Always something to do, always something to get, always something to learn, something to, another seminar, another satsang, another teaching, another this, another that, and that's all bullshit. Some people say, just be silent. And that's what I did in the past 4 years. All kinds of things disappeared. I couldn't read books anymore because it bored me to the core. I couldn't watch Hollywood movies anymore. I couldn't play PlayStation anymore. I couldn't, all kinds of things disappeared already in the past 4 years before the shift, so to speak. So when I look back with Ilona, this was already part of awakening, but without realization that it already happened. Yeah. And then you sit there, because who wants to be entertained? That is the big question. Who is the entertainer? Who wants to be entertained all the time, right? Doing something, longing for something, become your best version. Bullshit concept. You are already everything. Nothing is missing at all. Nothing is lacking. It's all conceptual, secondhand knowledge, which keeps you completely trapped where you are, right? And that's why I dropped everything. So this was a natural impulse, you could say, that the realization, unrealized, happened, like it's all crap, you don't need it. Yeah. But still, then some activity, so to speak.
Yeah, still something is happening.
Yeah, and something has to be happening. That's the thing, because here was also an expectation like, oh, there comes the big event very soon. I can feel it, right? And then, no angel course, no levitation, no holiness. It is silent, subtle, and totally unspectacular. It is just like, whoop. Oh, that's how it is. Holy shit. Yeah.
Holy shit, I like this.
That's it.
Yeah.
Even letting go is not possible. It's also a trap, because who is holding what and why and for what reason? What is the benefit of holding on to things? Yeah, you just need to let go. You need to think positive. You need to cleanse your energetic body and your chakras and stuff. It's not wrong to do that, but it will not liberate you ever. Because there is the illusion of, I can control life. And you cannot control life, because life happens always. It's pretty simple. I always tell people, maybe you were at the dentist and you remember the moment when you're lying on the dentist chair and then the sucking thingy comes into your mouth and then the drill goes on. So hearing is happening, right? Like, okay. And then the drill comes into your mouth and the dentist starts drilling. So what is happening in that very moment, right? First of all, sound, hearing, right? The drill, also the noise in your head, maybe drilling on your teeth, but is there anything else in that moment? Is there an I and self, or the realization of the so-called body? No, it's gone. There is only like, I want to get out as fast as possible, exactly. Right? It's the direct experience of that what apparently happens. And when you look deeper It's always like that. Maybe you had an accident, you were in hospital. Were you there? I had one when I was 13. There was a lot of pain and a lot of fear and stuff like that, but there was no Thorsten, there was no person, there was no I, no self, no nothing. There was just like horror, hospital, oh my God, an operation, projection in the future also, yeah. And that's the same with the body. I mean, who is farting? Who is yawning? Who is having an orgasm? Who is going onto the toilet? Are you controlling anything at all? Of course, you can learn some techniques to control your orgasm or when you go into the toilet, but at the end, it comes when it comes, right? So there is no one in control, never was. It's happening all apparently by itself. But the persona thinks it's a thought, it's a belief system. In the word belief, we have the lie that I am in control. I can change. I lived for several years in Zen monasteries, and we did always this. Who is moving the arm? What is moving the arm? Is it the brain communicating to the arm and says, move? Or is it the body who is saying, arm movement now? Or is it the arm by itself who says, I move now? Or is it just life, which is happening as movement of this body vessel called arm in this case? And there is just the space, which is awareness, where this is apparently happening, so to speak. And the answer is, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Who wants to know? Why? For what? What is the benefit of it? Why does the I always need to define everything? Who's God? Who created the universe? Do we have 300 trillion galaxies? We don't know. We will never know. No one cares. And that's the freedom we are talking about here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All this need to define whatever path has disappeared.
This calmness, this calmness, I could call it calmness, or I don't know what is this, but the need to know when there is no need to know.
Yeah. And of course, some people come to me and said, oh, that sounds like a lot of boredom. Yes, it's completely boredom, but this boredom is totally beautiful. It is not empty or boredom for the so-called identified person, like I need to entertain myself. I need to do something. I cannot sit still. Yeah, I saw that in the monasteries, for example, people couldn't even sit still for 5 minutes. Always something happening, like itching or scratching or whatever, right? I always could, for a very long time, do nothing at all. Just lie down and don't move at all. Only breathing happens or whatever. And that's it. That's it. So this boredom is absolutely abundant because it's life. Yeah. Without all this fake entertainment, so to speak. Yeah. But you cannot understand that. That's the problem.
Yeah. And all this speaking again, like, but it is happening anyway. So exactly. There is no intention here to make something, to take an interview or whatever, but it is happening anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything unfolds itself. And it's also not a doctrine or some teaching or something. It's just this.
And it's joyful in a way.
It's total joy. It's pure childish, playful nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. Sometimes I'm laughing out of nowhere and I'm really mostly peeing my pants because of laughing, because it's so strong. Or then there's the impulse to dance. And then the body gets up and dances for 15, 20 minutes. It's freaking around and it's totally beautiful. It's cool, right? It's fun. It's natural.
Does something remains from your practices before? Like I don't know, meditating, sitting in silence, whatever.
Yeah, sitting in silence, is that what happens anyway?
Okay.
Because there is only sitting happening and everything is silent. But no, that disappeared over the years by itself. So there was always something, you need to do something, right? You need to do something to become more healthy or to be more healthy or to be more conscious or to be more this or that. But it all fell away. Meditation, I was a daily Qigong practitioner for example, and yoga and this and that, and chanting mantras and the whole parade, everything, right? No, it's all gone. It's all gone. There is no need to do anything anymore. It is also, that's a very radical thing, because many people say in the spiritual community, I'm not my body. Okay, then get vaccinated. Where's the problem, right? No, I don't get vaccination. Why not? Because I thought you're not the body and you're eternal. Stuff like that. Yeah. So there you can dismantle very, very easily where people stand, right? And this is also, this was a shocker, so to speak, for no one. It doesn't even matter if this body is alive anymore or not. Because if it dies, it dies. That's happening in one or another way sooner or later anyway. So, but there is no clinging to it, yeah, because life is beyond the body. Yeah. And so it's with every kind of practice as well. It all disappears by itself. And when things appear, they appear naturally without the need to go somewhere or to create some special state of beingness or consciousness or whatsoever. It's all spiritual crap, sorry, right? But it's not wrong to do that, yeah? But you're always in the doing process, exactly. Yeah? I do this and it's temporary. That's exactly the same with the ayahuasca people and stuff like that. Yeah? I lived in a community where we had monthly ayahuasca retreats with ayahuasca and bufo and stuff like that. I personally never consumed it because it was not on the table for me. I had my experiences 25 years ago with LSD and stuff, but I saw everything, yeah, and it's exactly the same. People get glimpses, yeah, and then I see God, or I am one with the universe, and this and that. But it's always only temporary, yeah. And it is exactly the thing what you were seeking your whole life, without maybe knowing that you are seeking it, yeah. Because the identified life is always the lack of something. There's something missing, and the illusion to control or to you can do something, right? It is never enough. It's a never-ending journey as long as there is an identification. Yeah, and I saw also people, they were possessed after ayahuasca. They went completely crazy, need some exorcism or something, and some people even died. Yeah? But that's the stories they don't tell you, because you can heal depression with ayahuasca and stuff. No, you can't, because let's say addiction, depression, burnout is also an identification, right? This so-called former person was a so-called porn junkie for over 3 decades, right? And then I went into it. Who is addicted and to what? And then, because the so-called porn addiction business is also growing very rapidly in the world right now, because mostly 95% of men are addicted to it, they say, and over 30% of women and stuff like that. And but they sell you something. You need to get rid of that addiction and to replace it with something else. So you just create another addiction. Could be business, could be money, could be workout, which is not bad or wrong, right? But it's still an addiction. There's still an identification with a replacement story. So it's always another story, another story. But at a certain point, and that was in my case, I always came back to the same point, which was nothing works. Doesn't matter what I do, right? And now, gone. Not even the need to masturbate anymore or whatever, right? It's all disappeared. If it's appearing, it's fine, but there is no need to anymore, right? That's freedom. Yeah. That's real freedom in my eyes, which we already are all our lives. But those veils or those hulls which were pulled over us or put over us, that's the illusion, right? And that's what I saw also in a lot of spiritual communities, right? There are a lot of people.
Let's talk about this a little bit, yeah. Because
there are a lot of people.
You mentioned a few times, and yeah, let's put a light on the spiritual community.
Yeah. Well, I lived in 10 communities for altogether 10 years with some breaks between of it. I started in the Zen tradition, then I jumped into the Tibetan Buddhism, Vajrayana, then I came to Theravada Buddhism, Vipassana, as always. Yeah. Then came the yoga phase, then came the Advaita phase and the Qigong phase, and then came just jumping through the world, so to speak. My experience is, I mean, it's a good place to crash, because in my case, I was 33. I was living, yeah, I was living in Switzerland, and I was completely unhappy and unfulfilled. I had a very healthy material life, so to speak, a lot of money and big TV and designer bed and designer couch and blah, 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 all those things, right? But I was sitting there and I had the so-called dark night of the soul, which also not exists because it's also an identification. But as long as you are there, it exists.
Yeah, but they put on this this dark night of the soul so many. Yeah. I don't know, glamour, or you experience the night of the soul. Oh, yeah. That's a good sign. Yeah. You're on a spiritual path. You're on a path to awakening.
Yeah. That diploma for ascension. Blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? And in those moments, I always started to talk to whatever you might call it. Mm. I don't use the word God because did you ever read the word God backwards? It's dog.
Dog, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't think that the absolute pronounces itself like that, and it doesn't need a label at all, right? Mm-hmm. So then I ask questions. Why all this suffering? Why all this war, this violence, this crap on the planet? If you want me to go on, you need to give me a very clear reason right now to go on, right? Because if not, I'm ending it. Yeah, and then things appear and things happened, right? And then it became very clear, okay, I cannot live in this society anymore. I become a monk.
Yeah, so there was you replace.
Yeah, that's the replacement game. Mm. So I dismantled my whole material life. I sold everything and gave it away. And people said, oh, no, he's completely crazy, right? I found the right monastery, which is another funny story, but it's too long to tell it here right now. And then I went into the monastery, right? And I was full of expectations. And they're all holy and very mindful, and they meditate all day long and doing only good things and cleansing their karma and blah, 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 and so on. Yeah, and then after 1 week, I saw 2 nuns shouting very aggressively and progressively at each other, very loud, and was sitting there like, what is this place, right? They're more strange than the people outside. What is going on here, right? And let's say it like that. It's a good place to get out of the system or to get out of your whatever beliefs, yeah, and to get in touch with some deeper stuff or core stuff, so to speak. I say every human being is traumatized in one form or the another. But this trauma is an illusion. But as long as you don't realize that or realization happens, you are in this movie called I need to cleanse my trauma or heal my trauma or integrate my inner child or whatsoever, or my past or my childhood and so on. It's endless. And my ancestors as well. And
of so course.
On. Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Everything. It's totally crazy. And it's not wrong, like I say, yeah. But it cannot free you. That's the point. It will never ever free you. And then after a while, I realized, okay, things are different than I thought they are. And again, we are in the thought, right? And it is hard work. It is a lot of serving, so to speak, sometimes 15 hours per day, sometimes 7 days per week. So you work even more than on the outside, and there is no more free time. It's a completely structure you get, like in a military style, you could say. But this is exactly the stuff which is triggering you. Yeah? And all kind of things pop up, and you're getting angry and aggressive. All the repressed and suppressed stuff comes up energetically, mentally, emotionally, physically, and all kinds of things can come to the surface, and this can be very overwhelming and very intense. And there are a lot of very unstable people in those places, in monasteries, ashrams, spiritual communities. And then that's what I meant with, they pull something over and think, oh, now I'm spiritual, or now I'm an ordained monk or nun, now I'm a different person. No, it's still the same bullshit, just in another form. Yeah. And I saw also the ugly stuff. So in one monastery, the so-called Zen master had sexual intercourse with the underage monks and stuff like that. So that's very normal. That's common because there is always one factor, and this factor is human.
Exactly. Yeah.
And when you suppress something, I'm celibacy now, I don't this and that, it will come up somehow in some form always, because you're just playing a role. Yeah, but you're not liberated. Yeah. I met so many so-called masters in my life, over 100, right? And if you ask me how much of them are really fully realized, 1, 2 maybe. Yeah. And everyone else is selling something, is telling you stories, is playing a role. There's a lot of spiritual ego. Oh my God, I've never seen so many egoic people on one place, especially in the spiritual bubble.
Yeah, there is this misconception, like in such communities, like spiritual communities, there are special people there because they're just I don't know, they're caring about other stuff than usual normal people. But that's a nonsense, of course.
Well, you could say they are special.
And they get offended on those words. Nothing's wrong here. Nothing like there is no intention to harm anyone.
Absolutely not. No, it's absolutely good as it is, and it's also part of everything, right? And even abundance or the absolute is showing up as duality or as madness or as sexual abuse or as rape or whatsoever, right? It's all this. I mean, of course, there is something grateful to have the chance to be in those places and to see all that. And a lot of stuff happened for the person. But after a while, I realized, okay, even a community or even becoming a monk or a nun won't free you. It's not about that. It's another form, and you can play the game of forms with everything your whole life. But this is not what we are talking about. We are talking about the death of everything, of me, so to speak. And that's a big thing. Spirituality, also the ascension bubble, right? And the mediums and the channels. I say I know some channels which are authentic, let's say it like that. And I ask them, when you are communicating with your guides, what they are telling you. And they always say only personal stuff for me, but never a solution and never the wisdom of humanity where I have to sell as an ebook for $9.99 or something, right? That's just stuff they sell. And there's a lot of projecting, I would say, and a lot of ego and a lot of, it's always in the future, right? And that's the main thing. What I realized is that it's all separation. You are not complete, you are not full. You need to do something and then you become fully or complete. If you want to ascend, you need to do this. You need to cleanse your body. You need to eat these kinds of foods. It's always separation. It's always lack of. It's always you are not enough right now in this very moment. And I am there where you want to be and I can show you how you can get there. And that's bullshit. Sorry. That's dangerous, I would say, even, because it leads people to all kinds of misconceptions. And you can get lost in that. Absolutely. I mean, I did for 25 years. and
you're laughing now, but
yeah, because it doesn't matter anymore. Right? Exactly. There is no one here who is judging or angry or saying, how can I be so blind or so stupid? No, it just happened and it's okay because it's a game, it's a joke. It's always that. It's just life, right? And
can you say something you mentioned on our meeting about or someone else mentioned, I don't quite remember, never mind, about something that you're working on right now on Telegram or where?
Yeah, I have created 2 channels on Telegram where
I'm not familiar with Telegram, but maybe I will. I don't know.
Telegram is like WhatsApp, but a little bit more safe and cooler.
Okay, can you
Yeah.
share something about it? So there is this impulse, obviously, to share. There
Yeah,
is this,
it is.
it's coming
It's
like.
pretty simple. It's 2 channels where I post right now the pointers of Liberation Unleashed. Yeah, because that's the giving back from my side. Because the Book of Ilona was the final push, so to speak. So I will. I'm posting mostly on a daily basis. The insights of the app, the enlightened quotes. But I will also post quotes from Ilona, stuff which comes from out here, let's say,
Yeah.
right? Like, for example, the undefinable unfolds itself through formless forms and timeless times in boundless boundaries and stuff like that, right? I don't know where it comes from, it just comes. I'm also working on my own web space, the illusionofself.com. Funny that this domain was free, but okay, I take it, where I share just what's happening, right? And also recommending other people and friends and stuff, because for me personally, it's about synergy. Yeah, it's about sharing and caring and in a synergetic way, giving the informations to everyone, because that's what it's all about. If people want to create a more conscious society, well, start here, right? But there are tools which can be very beneficial or helpful in some way to see some things different, let's say.
Yeah, like in a way, it happens when it happens, and no one is doing anything anyway. But it seems that some things may help. And
I mean, it's pretty simple. Like this.
Yeah,
it's the absolute speaking to the absolute. And there is some hearing happening, but we are not talking about acoustic hearing. It's the hearing of your being. There is something remembering, or you fall back into your natural beingness, as I call it.
Yeah, and there is this this sensation. It's like it has been always like this. It's nothing new.
Yeah.
A way. Yeah.
That's the remembering, right? Like, because when I heard Papaji for the first time, I only understood it conceptually, but something, let's call it inside, was saying like, okay, this is it. This is the final truth, right? Just like that. Oh, wow. I need to look there, deeper, dig.
Because you mentioned Papaji, maybe just to see, oh, you're speaking 50 minutes. Oh, nice. Because you mentioned Papaji, can you share some other speakers or teachers? Do you listen now, or did you listening to anyone?
I mean, there is no need, let's say it like that, right? There's no interest. There is nothing to add, nothing to gain, nothing to learn, nothing to, now I know. It's very spontaneous. Sometimes I read in Ilona's books because it's fun, or in the actual book of Karl Renz, for example, because he's the destroyer. He destroys.
I wanted to make a chat with him, but unfortunately, till now, it's not successful. Like
he's special.
Him. I don't know. He's special. Maybe he don't feel like.
No, I mean with the interview.
Yes, I know. Yeah, no.
That's the special thing.
Fine. Like I mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, some folks, they just don't want. To talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
I read the daily pointers from Scott Kiloby because that's a wonderful book where you get your daily little impulse to okay. Just as a reminder to remind no one. And everything else is totally spontaneous. Sometimes Tony Parsons, sometimes Andreas Müller, sometimes Anna Brown, for example. Right. So what comes?
Yeah.
Totally fluent, totally liquid. But no, I need to listen daily to whatever. No, totally not. And there are phases where there's nothing happening at all. Yeah. And then there are phases where there is listening or watching happening.
Yeah. I don't know how to end. Maybe if you want to say something to those who are still seeking for something.
Enjoy everything as it is, as long as you can. Because when the you disappears, you will start to miss yourself, which has never existed. Be whatever, yeah, because that's also life. Even if there is suffering or seeking or whatsoever, it doesn't matter. Yeah? But you cannot not wake up.